How to knit a brioche stitch headband. Today we're going to make this beautiful brioche stitch headband or ear warmer, or even messy bun hat, whatever you want to call it. It's beautiful, it's really easy, and all you need to do is learn how to make a brioche stitch. So that's what I'm going to show you today. We're going to be using 1 hank of Be So Brave yarn, 100% American merino wool in worsted weight. We're going to be using a size 10.5 knitting needles, which is 6.5 millimeter, and we're going to need a tape measure, a yarn needle, and scissors. Let's get started. We're going to start by casting on, and first we need a slip knot. So you wrap the yarn around your fingers, pull a loop through the loop. That is not only the slip knot, but it also counts as our first cast on stitch. So we're going to slide it onto our needle, and holding the working yarn in back and the tail yarn in front, we're going to cast on with long tail 19 more times for a total of 20 stitches. I've got my 20 stitches cast on, and now we're going to do a setup row, and then the rest of the pattern is only 1 row. So we've got our setup row, which is to bring the yarn to the front, which is kind of like a yarn over. So we're going to yarn over our needle, slip the first stitch purlwise. So with the yarn in front, slip the first stitch purlwise, but in order to knit the next stitch, we're going to leave it here so that it counts as a yarn over, and knit the next stitch. So we have that extra wrap because of the yarn in front when we go to do our knit stitch. It'll make more sense as we go along. So we're going to bring the yarn to the front, slip the next stitch purlwise, knit the next stitch without moving the yarn, which creates a yarn over. Okay, bring the yarn to the front, slip the next stitch purlwise, knit the next stitch with the yarn still in the front position, which creates a yarn over. And we're going to repeat that across the row. Okay, and it's going to look like that. So now we'll turn our work, and now I'm going to show you the first row of brioche stitch, which is every row of brioche stitch. So we're going to yarn over, slip 1, and knit 2 together, which is the yarn over and the stitch from the previous row. Yarn over, slip 1 stitch purlwise, knit the next 2 stitches. Yarn over, slip 1 purlwise, and knit the next 2 stitches. Yarn over, slip 1 purlwise, and knit the next 2. And we're going to repeat that across the entire row. So now we've finished row 1, And that is what you want to repeat for the entire length of your project. But what I want to point out is that it looks a lot wider than the finished piece right now, and that's because it takes several rows actually for the ribbed fluffiness and loftiness of brioche stitch to show up. So it's going to be a few rows of it not really looking the way it's supposed to look, so don't give up on yourself. We'll do a couple more rows so you can see what I'm talking about. We're going to yarn over, slip the first stitch purlwise, and knit the next 2 stitches together. Slip one, yarn over, slip 1 purlwise, and knit the next 2 together. Yarn over, slip 1 purlwise, knit the next 2 together. Yarn over, slip 1 purlwise, knit the next 2 together. And what you may not be used to in this project is the fact that you yarn over first, then slip a stitch purlwise, and when you knit 2 together, that's when the yarn over actually happens. That's when the yarn comes over your needle. So even though we're doing things in a certain sequence, they actually show up in a different sequence, which can be a little weird if you're not used to it. So I wanted to point it out. Yarn over, slip 1 purlwise, knit 2 together. Yarn over, slip 1 purlwise, knit 2 together. Okay, so we now have 2 rows complete, and it still doesn't quite look like our fluffy brioche stitch yet, but it's getting there. You can start to see it. It's just it doesn't have the loft that it's going to have yet. Brioche stitch is amazing for stuff to keep you warm. Let me show you on it. It's not just like ribbing. I mean, it looks like ribbing, but it has this density to the fabric that's so much thicker. When I say loft, it's thicker this way, which makes it so soft and cozy for keeping your ears warm. So let's do that row one more time, and I'll show you how it looks after that. So we've got a yarn over, which is different at the beginning of the row. It just kind of looks like a yarn in front. Yarn over, slip 1 purlwise, knit 2 together. Okay, and now you can see our brioche stitch is starting to come. You're starting to see it now. It's starting to squinch in widthwise a little bit and get a lot loftier. So you just want to repeat that 1 row for the whole project. I find that 14 inches unstretched in length actually gives me a really nice snug ear warmer, but you'll want to just try it on, like just while it's still on the needles, wrap it around your head and make sure you're coming very close to what you want it to be. I'm going to work to 14 inches and then I'll show you how to finish this up. We continued in pattern until the piece measures 14 inches long without stretching. Okay, so that's an unstretched measurement. Haven't pulled on it or anything, and it's 14 inches long. So now what I want to show you is how we bind off in brioche stitch. We're going to purl the first stitch, move the yarn to the back, knit the next 2 stitches together, which is the yarn over and the next stitch, and we're going to pass the slip stitch over. Okay, we'll bring the yarn to the front, purl the next stitch, pass the slip stitch over, or pass the previous stitch over, move the yarn to the back, knit the next 2 stitches together, pass the previous stitch over, yarn to the front, purl the next stitch, pass the previous stitch up and over, yarn to the front, knit the next two together, and pass the previous stitch up and over. You want to complete this across the entire row. Okay, so now we want to sew the cast on and bind off seam together. So I left my yarn, I fastened off using a really long piece of yarn, because not only am I going to sew this seam, I'm then going to cinch it together and then wrap multiple times to give it a nice finished look. So we'll start by sewing the seam together. Now this seam is not going to be seen. You're not going to see this seam, so there is no fear about getting this lined up correctly, but I will try to do the best I can just to show you. So what you want to do is try to line up the knit and purl facing look of brioche. So I'm just going to try to sew this together, matching up the ridges. Well, it turns out I do like the wrap. I did way more than 15. I'm guessing it's closer to 30 wraps now. And so now we want to secure the yarn. So I'm going to pull it through the work first before even tying a knot, and then on the back side here, get a nice little knot to secure, and then weave in our loose end. And just weave it through the work. And cut it off. And there you have a oh, we've got one more end. I forgot about it. We've got the beginning tail from the cast on edge. So we'll pull that through the work as well. Okay, and now we have a super adorable brioche headband or ear warmer. Also would work very well for a messy bun hat, because you can leave your hair in a messy bun or a ponytail. This is a one-hang project using Be So Brave yarn in colorway Shining Sea. You can get more information about the yarn and get the free pattern when you go to KristinOmdahl.com.